Well, welcome back, and a very warm welcome to all of my loyal YouTube subscribers, and also if you're a first time visitor to my Classic Dirt Bike TV channel, then I do hope you find something here to interest you. Now, in my next video posting we're going to take a look at a bike that I've already featured on my YouTube channel, although this time round we're going to take a more in-depth look at how the actual machine was put together. So let's get straight into the video and take another look at Bill Brown's very unique Maico Triumph Hybrid Twin Shocker. Now, the story of this bike actually dates back to 1982, when the bike's owner, Bill Brown, was racing at one of his local twin shock race events on, as you'd expect, a two-stroke 81 490 Maico. But as good as the Maico was, Bill really wanted a four-stroker so that he could compete in the very popular Northern Centre four-stroke championship, which was hugely successful with riders who wanted to race these types of four-stroke race bikes. Now, Bill told me at the time that all that was really available in the early 80s was your run-of-the-mill XRs or XL Hondas, but Bill really wanted something British and something different, so that's when he came up with the idea to build his own four-stroke special. Now, naturally, because Bill was a Maico dealer at the time, the obvious choice for a frame for his new bike had to be what was regarded at the time as the best motocrosser of its day, the mighty 1981 490 Maico. Now, a Triumph twin motor was again the obvious choice as a power plant, although the Maico frame would have to undergo some surgery to allow the Triumph engine to slot in. But anyhow, to cut a long story short, this was the original bike that Bill built in 1982, although soon after it was completed he was offered a very generous offer for the bike, which he eventually accepted. Although Bill did tell me that it was one of the biggest mistakes of his life selling this original bike, and that's one of the main reasons he decided to build this Mark II replacement. Now, beginning with the frame, the Maico chassis had to have both the bottom frame rails lowered to accommodate the taller Triumph motor, but this took quite some time to get absolutely right in order to make sure that the primary and rear drive sprockets lined up perfectly, and of course to make sure that the engine's centre of gravity was right by tilting it forward a few degrees in the frame. Now, this wasn't just done to make sure that the bike looked good, it was very important to get the centre of gravity spot on to get the best from the Maico chassis. Now, when it came to the building of the Triumph twin motor, Bill told me that he entrusted this part of the bike's construction to a friend who knows these Triumph twin engines inside out. Now, the motor was initially a 500cc twin, although the barrels have been bored out in order for them to take 650cc pistons. But most of the rest of the engine is basically stock, although a bigger Amel carburetor makes sure that the motor has plenty to drink when it gets fired up. Now, the Triumph engine's fitted with these very nice pair of header exhausts, which have been specially fabricated for this particular bike. No silencers, of course, just straight through pipes to try and improve the gas flow from this beautiful Triumph twin engine, and we'll get an opportunity to hear the music from this motor and its exhausts later in this video. But nevertheless, I'm sure your environmentalists won't appreciate the decibel levels that are emitted from this mechanical sculpture. But for me personally, the choice of the Triumph twin engine and the 81 German made Maico frame just make a good combination and somehow just look perfect together and it was actually a good choice by Bill when you consider that he could have picked an engine from 100 other different manufacturers. Although one of the other good fortunate parts of this motor is that spare parts are easily available. But when it came to the bike's front suspension, there was really only going to be one choice, and again these were taken from the 81 490 Maico. Now these forks were good enough and worked very well on the two-stroke Maico, so there was no reason to suspect that they wouldn't be fit to use on this slightly heavier Trico. The gold anodised brake back plates is another Wulfsport manufactured item, but these drum brakes were certainly going to be a test yet again for the heavier Triumph motor when it came to stopping. And also the top and bottom triple clamps are again gold anodised Wulfsport parts, and are extremely light, being manufactured in alloy. Now the Trico's rear suspension units are a pair of RPM piggyback shocks, and once more these are manufactured specifically for Wulfsport, and by all accounts do a very good job on these types of classic twin shock racers. Now they are also fully serviceable and rebuildable, so you can adjust and tune them to any rider's individual weight or riding style. Now these RPM suspension units are maybe not as flash as your top of the range Öhlins, but they still do a very good job and are of decent quality. Now the bike's rear swing arm is again a very high grade alloy swing arm, which is very strong, and it's also used as a direct replacement for the steel swing arm that would have been fitted to the original 81 Maico. But as you'd expect, this was just a straight choice for this new bike and a perfect fit on the chassis of this new Trico motorcycle. Now the eagle-eyed among you will have already noticed that this Maico rear brake hub has been turned around in order to have the rear sprocket on the same side as of course the Triumph motor's primary drive, because this of course is a British built motor which has the gear shifter on the right hand side. But it all fits together very well and looks absolutely perfect sitting inside this box section alloy swing arm. Now again, this lovely alloy fuel tank is once more taken straight from the 81 490 Maico, and Wulfsport used these as direct replacements for the original plastic items, but because we're using an original 81 490 chassis, this was just another straightforward bolt-on to the new frame. Now this nicely turned out Maxi-Quip seat is another item straight off the Wulfsport part shelf, and certainly doesn't look a bit out of place on this new Trico. Now the rest of the bike's plastics, like the front and rear mudguard and including these side panels, are all stock 81 490 Maico items. Now again, and because this was essentially still a British built engine, the rear brake pedal was positioned on the left hand side of the chassis, and Bill also continued with another little upgrade and bolted on a decent pair of these wide foot pegs just to give the rider's feet that little bit more support. Now, as you would expect, the twin cylinder Triumph motor obviously needed some kind of oil storage tank, and so the top of the Maico frame was filled from this filler plug with engine oil. The engine oil of course was then fed down these two feed pipes, where it was picked up by a pump which then pumped the oil around the engine. Now, to try and keep the Triumph twins many horses in check, a decent Gunnar Gasser and quality Magura levers have been used alongside a pair of quite strong Renthal handlebars. So hopefully these will all play their part in this new Trico creation when or if the bike ever takes to the racetrack. Well, just in case you haven't already worked it out, the bike's Trico title is of course just made up using part name of the Maico frame and the Triumph twin motor. Now, soon after the bike was completed, Bill told me that he thought that the new Trico was every bit as good as the old original machine that he built in 1982, but as yet, and as far as I'm aware, this bike has never been raced in anger, but hopefully one of these days I'll manage to catch her strutting her stuff at a vintage scramble or off-road event somewhere soon. Now, I first ran into this bike at the Vets MXDN event at Farleigh Castle a few years back, which was not long after Bill had finished building it, and it was by pure luck that I managed to catch the bike just as she was being fired up.
No, we need it.
You need Gary back.
We need Gary back. Gary started straight away.
Is it just a prototype then?
No. It's the real thing, but I've another one at home.
Get up on it.
You're right.
Oh. So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this quick look around Bill Brown's very smart and unique Trico. So don't forget, if these are the kind of bikes that you like to look at here on YouTube, then I do hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. So coming up next on Classic Dirt Bike TV, we will be taking a look at possibly the most famous trials machine on the planet, Sammy Miller's HT5 Aerial Trials. So once again, thanks very much for watching, and I hope you'll come back soon to Classic Dirt Bike TV.